You are listening to the new man beyond the macho jerk and the new age wimp. Your host is men's coach Tripp Lanier.
Is there a way to break free from all of the negativity going on today? What does Gary Vaynerchuk have to say about the people who attack him? And what would you be doing with your life if you weren't afraid of what others may say? You may know George Resch as Tank Sinatra, the guy who uses humor to reach over 1 million people every day. Today, we're going to talk about trolls, what it means to have your head up your ass, and how we can train ourselves to see the good all around us. Welcome to The New Man. Today we're talking with George Resch. He's better known as Tank Sinatra on Instagram. He's got over 1.2 million followers, and he's written a book called Happy is the New Rich. It's available now. George, thanks for talking today.
Thank you for having me, Tripp. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's get a little background on you. You're a husband, you're a father, and you still holding down a day job these days?
I actually am, yeah. I'm super busy. I never thought I would be this busy. I always thought I was kind of like a lazy person, but looking at the way my life is now, I don't think I was lazy. I just think I didn't have enough stuff to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, enough stuff that kept your interest that you wanted to keep going.
Exactly. I always wondered how entrepreneurs and the hustler types stayed busy, and I guess you got to like create your own things, and sometimes it takes a while for things to get going, and it took a while for me to get this going, but it's going now, and it's going really well. It's expanding quickly. It's reaching a lot of people, and I'm very, very fulfilled by it. But I do still have my day job. So
let's rewind here. So for those of the folks out there that are listening and aren't familiar with what you do, give us how do you describe what you do to people?
Oh man, I don't. I guess the reason I'm known, or the reason we're talking and you reached out to me, is because I've figured out a way to reach people on the internet through humor, and that was my first foray into the world of being public and putting my thoughts out there. I started making my own memes on the internet in a time when people were being chastised and being like, I hate to use the word crucified because it's so dramatic and extreme, but basically people were being vilified for reposting humorous content that wasn't there. So while that was all going on, I was quietly kind of plugging away, making my own jokes and making my own memes, and it helped me build my account rather quickly because I think people were starting to get wind of the fact that these memes that you see everywhere originate from somewhere. They don't originate out of the internet. They're not born of the internet. They're born of people's sense of humor. So I became known as one of the top original creators of memes on the internet, if not the top.
Okay.
I could be so humble.
Yeah, you're the cream of the crop here. So
I'm the man, dude.
so a meme, for those that aren't up to speed on a meme, it's essentially a picture with some kind of a funny comment. There's some irony in there. Is that a safe way to describe it?
Yeah. It's basically just I see a picture and I read into it a little more than the average person, and I try and pull some kind of background that doesn't exist or may not exist and caption it as such with some kind of funny, relatable, humorous content. The bottom line is if it strikes a nerve in you and you say, I felt like that, and that's also a funny picture, and it does look like the dog is thinking that, then you laugh and you like it, and then you share it, and that's how I grow my page.
Have you ever thought about how many people are looking at your work while they're in the bathroom?
Yeah, of course, 99%, I would say. It's mostly, the majority of people are meeting me on the toilet.
All right. Yeah, just had to slide that one in there. You mentioned getting vilified, crucified is a strong word, but so many of the people that I talk to, they've got this big sense of I want to do this with my life, but the thing that's holding back a lot of them is that they're so worried about what others are going to say, and they're afraid of the haters, they're afraid of the criticism. They're not even afraid of one specific person. It's just them. They are going to say something. Those people, the world is going to come down on me. You post stuff in an effort to just make people laugh, and yet there's inevitably going to be people on every post that are going to try and come at you and be discouraging about it. I'm curious what you've learned about dealing with trolls and haters.
So I'll be honest with you, because I'm a creative, sensitive person, it does get to me sometimes it really depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Once you get to a certain point, you're supposed to not care and you're supposed to not be affected by people coming at you with negativity. And sometimes I am, and sometimes I'm not. It depends on my mood. But I will say that there was a point in time where no matter what kind of mood I was in, somebody coming at me with negativity would make it worse, and I couldn't control it. So, to deal with them, the best way to deal with them is to not deal with them, right? So to just not give them any attention.
Mm-hmm.
But that's very difficult. And, I actually had a conversation with Gary Vaynerchuk, who was one of my heroes. The guy is just, he's puts himself out there so much, and he's so exposed and so, open to people just obliterating him. And I asked him, I said, how do you deal with the people that are just nasty for no reason? He goes, well, I feel bad for them. And I'm like, but do you care about what they say? He's like, yeah. I said, but so how come you don't do anything? He goes, I don't care. Like, so you do care, but you don't care? He goes, yeah. And I was like, all right. So what I realized is that this guy has 10 years more experience than I do dealing with this kind of stuff. So I think it just takes practice. And listen, if you're going to let what other people think of you dictate how you act in any area of your life, you're going to have a hard time, especially on the internet when it's strangers and their opinion really doesn't mean anything. A lot of them are just, out of 1.2 million people, there's a good chance somebody that follows me is going to be having a bad day and want to take it out on somebody. And I'm going to be it sometimes.
Yeah, I just appreciate that because I hear so many of us are just waiting to live our best lives. We're waiting for complete certainty. We're waiting for everything to be safe. We're waiting for everybody to be lined up and have our back on things. And that's just not going to happen. When you started doing this work, were you scared to post things? Do you remember that fear?
You know what? The page grew so gradually. I guess my tolerance level for what I thought about before I posted. The only thing I've ever considered is the fact that, like, I want The Rock to follow me, but I also don't want The Rock to follow me because I don't know if I would think about what I post before I post it if I know he's going to see it.
Are you going to get the eyebrow or not? You don't know if you're going to get the eyebrow.
Yeah, should I use the F word? Is he going to be offended? Should I make a joke about muscles? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't need that kind of pressure. So, like, I welcome it. The Rock, you're welcome to follow me, but just know that you're not going to like everything I post. I know he listens to this. So.
There's something deeper there, right? Because it's just like, am I going to do what's true for me, or am I going to start to cater to people? I'm going to cater to the trolls and cater to the haters, or I'm going to cater to other folks to try to get them to like me. It's not my voice. It's not what I have to say.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Because I've done some ads on my page, and inevitably, like, this isn't punk rock, dude. Like, you can't call me a sellout. It's a platform that people want to get, their product in front of. So, if I do an ad, inevitably, again, people will say, call me a sellout. That's not a sellout to me. A sellout is somebody who posts a picture of a dog, a cute puppy, with a lame caption just so they can get likes on their page and feel better about themselves. That to me is more of a sellout than anybody else. When you're safe with your content and you're within confines that is not going to upset anybody, that's being a sellout. I like pushing the bounds. I've made racist jokes, sexist jokes, and I'm not like one of those people who feels like political correctness is bad all the time, because I don't think there's anything wrong with being nice to each other. I think that's really cool when you're nice and considerate of what other people's struggles might be like. But you've had one life and you have one perspective. And if you can see a couple of other people's perspectives, you're doing great. You can't see everybody's perspective. Someone's always going to be upset. You write a book, you could put 2 years of your life into writing a book. Somebody's going to take something the wrong way on a certain day. Doesn't have to be in general, but you're going to catch the wrong person on the wrong day every day. It's just going to be a different person on a different day.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I'm taking away from it is we got to be honest with our own, perspectives, be open to other perspectives, not get sucked into the drama like, oh, automatically that person's the victim and I'm the villain. But ultimately it leads to a better discourse. It leads to like, hey, well, let's see if there's something here where I can learn something and grow from it. And then also not get sucked into, if somebody's pissed off, I'm done the worst thing in the world here.
Yeah, because you know what, Tripp? Just because I get upset at something that somebody did doesn't mean that they did anything wrong. It's my fault. I forgot who said it, but somebody said, if you get offended by something somebody says, you're complicit in the offense because you're agreeing to be offended.
Right. It's a choice. It's a choice to be offended.
Exactly. Like if my wife says something that's off color because she just delivered a baby and her hormones are out of whack, and I agree to argue with her or engage in some kind of argument, I'm complicit in the argument because I should take responsibility for my own actions and reactions to external stimuli, no matter whether they caught me off guard or not. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm not on my game that day, and my wife says something that I'm like, and she's done it every day for the last 5 years, but for some reason she does it today and it pisses me off. Whose fault could that possibly be? It has to be my fault because it's happened every day for the past 5 years, and now I'm going to decide it's a problem. Whose fault is that? It's got to be mine.
Okay, I like that. Let's switch gears because the reason why I really wanted to talk to you today was because you recently started a feed called Tank's Good News. And so, I mean, I've just noticed a pattern in my own life where there's a cycle where the more bleak and the dark things seem, the more we tend to kind of get sucked in and towards the media. And so it makes sense that they're going to try and pump out more of the darkest, bleakest stuff in order to keep us watching so they can sell ads and make money. And so if I stop consuming that crap and actually connect with the people around me, even people I don't know, then my experience of the world actually improves dramatically. Most of us have trained our brains to seek out threats and seek out negative information, to seek out injustice. It's what catches our attention. It's what keeps it. I was really excited to see when you started this feed called Tank's Good News. Well, first off, I mean, what is Tank's Good News? Explain it to us.
Tank's Good News is just a feed where I try to highlight stuff that went right in the world, whether it happened today, 6 months ago, 10 years ago. I mean, the word news is somewhat of a misnomer because it doesn't have to be new. It's just like, if it's new to you, it's news. If you don't know about this, then it's news. And even if you have heard about it, maybe you need a reminder. So there's literally nothing that's off limits on this page as long as it highlights the best of what people are up to. And basically, it was born out of a couple of things. I realized I had a website a couple of years ago called ifoundmoneytoday.com, where basically I would leave $5 around New York City and take pictures of it and write a story. And it was like just a little gift to people because to find $5 is a little bit of a day changer. It's not like $1,000, but it's $5. It's a cup of coffee. And then you didn't have it before. So what happened was when I started putting that out into the world, the people that started seeking me out were totally different than the people I had been interacting with prior to that on the internet. And it's just like,
how so? What do you mean?
Like people would find my page and just be like, oh, yo, I'm the best and biggest guy that I met out of that was this guy, Charlie Johnson, who was running the Pay It Forward initiative, where he would go around to schools and teach kids about, the power of doing something kind and unrepayable to somebody, and how it changes your day. And it's basically if you're two eyeballs, like you just said, I don't even blame the mainstream media for doing what they do. It's us. It's our fault. It's on us. It can't be them. They're just doing, like when Donald Trump was getting crazier and crazier during the election, I didn't blame him for getting crazier and crazier. Every time he said something crazy, the people went nuts. What are you going to do next time you go on stage? You're going to try and up that. So the mainstream media has just done a good job of manipulating us and capitalizing on our evolutionary traits. Like you said, like if you were back in the day and you weren't good at reminding yourself of negative experiences and looking for bad shit, you didn't survive. So where it plays no part in our life today, for the most part, we're still wired that way. So if there's a threat, we tend to register that a little bit higher on the scale of importance. So we'll remember it for next time. What happens is you get this adrenal response and your mouth gets dry and your heart starts beating. And then you start feeling something. It's bad, but at least you're feeling something. You're feeling alive. And then you associate that with watching the news. You feel alive when you watch the news. Doesn't matter that it's bad. You feel something. Then they send you to commercial. Then you associate Target or Walmart with that feeling. So then you start, it's like this crazy cycle that we're caught in that I wanted to personally break. I'm not trying to, change the world. But for me, what it's done is it's forced me to look for the day, throughout the day, for things that people have done that are good, rather than like it's not even people out there like babies get hurt, people get hurt, fires start, car accidents happen. We know that. So why is that more important than somebody donating half their salary to people that need it down in Texas? Why does the baby dying take precedence over that? It shouldn't, but it does. And my goal is to at least level it out. You know what I mean? At least even out the playing field and say, yeah, listen, you watch the news at 10 o'clock. You got a half an hour to tell people what happened. That's what you chose to tell them. I don't know why, but you got a half an hour to tell us what happened that day, and this is what you want to talk about. I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take away from what I'm not trying to pretend the bad stuff didn't happen. I'm just saying, listen, this also happened, and this was like incredible.
Yeah.
This changed people's lives for the better.
Yeah, yeah. And so there seems to be some resistance to seeking good news, as if, like you said, we're going to let our guard down and something bad might happen if we actually start to look for good things out there. Was it challenging for you? Did you feel like you were pushing against the grain to start this feed and start to share it with the world?
No, the exact opposite. It was, and that's why I got so excited by it, because this is, so you asked before, is there something that, do I think about stuff that I post before I post it? The first couple of times I posted about this, or I posted about Tank's Good News on my Tank Sinatra page, the first night the page grew by 30,000 followers overnight. The second day, the page grew by another 30,000 followers. Then it dipped down to about 10. Even growing by 10,000 followers a day is about 10 times what I do on my normal page. And the reaction let me know, okay, this is something that people are ready for. Because I've had this thought for a long time that I wanted to do something like this, but I just didn't have the platform to launch it. So once I put it out there, the resistance was, but it's funny because even in the comments, like there was a story where Mandalay Bay donated $3 million to the victims of the shooting that just happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was like, that's not enough. This will never, it'll never give the people's lives back. And it's like, I know that, man. I know. But in this horrible, horrible thing that happened, here's a little something that went right. I'm not even trying to highlight what went right throughout the day. I'm trying to highlight what went right in a horrible circumstance. I don't want to talk about the bad shit that happened. We all know that people died and that lives were affected irrevocably, and nobody will ever be the same that was at that concert. We know that, but here's a little glimmer of light. And some people, and I don't blame them, they just can't see it. They're just like, no, it's not good enough. Okay, I get it.
It'll never be good enough for them, right? They'll always, yeah. Okay. I think that's interesting. No. I'm curious how because you've got to go out and find these stories now. So how has that process impacted you and your view of the world? Going out and looking for the good stuff.
I don't want to sound too dramatic, but it changed my life. So let's get dramatic. I mean, and it
Bring
did.
It. Yeah, that's what I want to hear because it's amazing.
It's as simple as what kind of result it's the difference between what kind of results you would get on Google if you typed in what went right today and what went wrong today. So imagine my brain is like a search engine, and I'm constantly trying to find out what went right today. Of course, that's going to change my perspective. Not only that, the people who are trying to source content from me, like the people that follow the page that want to get something they sent posted, they're looking for what went right throughout the day also now. So not only is my life a little different, I'm like having a real effect on people out there, because it's not about this account is not about showing you what went right during the day. It's about inspiring you to look for what went right during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to just have an effect on you for a split second while you scroll through the feed. I want this page to show you that there are good things happening every day, and they're out there if you just look for them. And that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
There's so much negativity out there.
That's it. That's the part that I see is like, we grow, whatever we're practicing, right? We're practicing looking for negativity. We're practicing looking for injustice, and we'll certainly find it. And I don't think we have to ever worry about not seeing it, but we do have to practice gratitude. We do have to practice seeing how things are going well. And I've noticed that the less I pay attention to this kind of crap out there, the more that I actually see how great things are going in life. And that's why I appreciated this feed, is that it's just, man, I mean, just yesterday I was scrolling through and you posted something from the football game. It's right next to the children's hospital. And I was like, oh, damn it, I'm going to cry. Like, I'm just like, not damn it. I'm watching this and I could feel it coming on. I'm like, oh man, all they're doing is just waving at the kids. And I'm like, I'm getting choked up now just thinking about it. I was like, this is it. Like this, but this is what we need, is like something to kind of melt our hearts and kind of help us remind us that we're all human and that we don't need to demonize each other. When it comes down to it, we really want most of the same things. And we got to look out for one another. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, bro. Imagine being a parent and you find out your child has leukemia, and they're sitting there. They're just so sad. Not because they're sick, because kids are amazing. They don't even know that they're sick. Like they know they're sick, but they don't realize the gravity of the situation they're in. And their boredom is thwarted by having 60,000 people or however many people it is wave at them for a couple of minutes a week. Like, that's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. The fact that somebody thought, you know what, there's a children's hospital right there. I think that at some point during the game, we should all wave to them. That's how I see, and everybody was on board. Nobody fought it because I think everybody is so thirsty and so craving positivity right now. That's why my page is doing what it's doing. That's why that trend took off. I hope so deeply that there's a shift in people's consciousness. Again, not to pretend that it's all good. I'm not talking about being Pollyanna, but you know, you can have your head in the sand or you can have your head in your ass. Like the people that think that everything's bad, those are like the head in the ass people.
You got to coin that. That's a good. That's great. Oh, that's awesome. And you wrote a book, Happy's the New Rich. What had you write that book? What's that about?
Oh man, so that book is just it's a book full of notes that I took to remind myself of how I should have handled situations or how I should have viewed certain situations throughout my life that troubled me. It's a lot of dating stuff, it's a lot of work stuff, it's a lot of self-image and self-esteem and food and all the things that trip people up, like relationships is a big one. Work and your relationship with money and your relationship with work. Procrastination. It's just things that I was like, you know what, if I had looked at it this way, my life would have been a little different at this point in time. Not long term, like my whole life. I'm just saying like right now would have been different if I looked at it this way. So it was just like reminders for myself. And that book was born of thousands of those notes. I took about 600 of what I thought were the best ones. There was a lot of garbage in my notes, believe me. There was a lot of absolute, like I didn't even make any sense. Like I didn't even know if it was in English. And I kept whittling it down till I got it to what I got it to. And I felt like there's not a page in that book that you can turn to that you're not going to relate to at some point or have related to in your life. And I think that the book was just, I put it out to help people. It's, again, going back to the trolls, like, God forbid you sell something that tries to help people. You know what I mean?
Right. You're the worst guy on the planet.
No problem with selling Captain Morgan. That's not a problem. Sell all the Captain Morgan you want, but God forbid you try and put out on the market a book that helps people. The comments were like, "Oh yeah, guy gets rich selling book. Happy is new rich." Okay, dude, I'd make like $1 a book. What the fuck? What do you think? I'm selling a fucking million books, posting on my Instagram page? Like, let me do this. Let me have this and enjoy this, and then let me see what happens. Like my sole intention for the book was to get my thoughts together and in a package that I could hand to my son at some point and say, here, dude, here's everything I know about being a decent human being up to this point in my life. I keep learning. I'm still learning, obviously, like most of us, but at least if something happened to me, I could hand that to him. And then my standards were like, all right, if I get this book on like 50 people's desk throughout the world, like I'll have felt like I've made an impact. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the book sold way more than 50. And it really, honestly, you couldn't write a book like that for money. There was so much sweat and tears and blood in that book. That book was not written for money, and it couldn't have been written for money. It would have come out totally differently.
Mm-hmm.
Money is not a motivator for stuff like that. That was a passion project that I was done writing 6 months before I was done writing it. Like every day was like a agony. I wanted to be done so bad, but it wasn't good enough yet. I had to keep pushing and keep rewriting and editing and formatting and, you know, should we put this page next to this page or that page, and what should we have the first? It was like such a process, but at the end of the day, it was worth it, and I feel satisfied with it, and I'm looking forward to the next project, whatever that is.
You know, again, I keep coming back to this thing of like, we can stay quiet, we can fear those voices. You know, there's this kind of bell curve of the population that just wants to just shut up and stay in line, stay in your lane. And then there's those people that press publish. They put stuff out there, they voice their opinions. And I have a hard time listening to people that don't publish. It just doesn't really resonate with me. But if you press publish, then I'm going to listen to you. Like, yeah, you've gone through something. You had the guts to put something out there. You put your heart and soul into something. I want to hear what you have to say. I'm going to value your opinion way more because you've crossed that threshold and you've made yourself vulnerable in that place, but you've done it from a place of service. And I'm just appreciating that. And if I'm listening, if I'm for the guy that's out there listening and you're been sitting on this idea for a book or sitting on even if it's just a blog or whatever, like just start publishing. If there's anything to take away from the conversation we've had here today is like, people are going to hate no matter what. So what? Go focus on the people you want to help and just help them as much as you can. That's what I want to get out there.
Yeah, you know the rapper Logic?
I'm going to lie and say yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Glad we have that in common. No, I'm honestly not the biggest fan of his music. He makes cool songs, but his message as an artist is this, and it's unreal. First of all, I met a guy when I was 15, when I was in a band, who told me that no matter how bad you think your song is, play it anyway, because every band that writes a song, like the thing that they hold on to is that song didn't exist before you wrote it, and now it does. Or that drawing didn't exist before you drew it. It doesn't matter if it's bad or not, because the world has now been enriched by your creativity, for better or for worse. Doesn't matter. It's not up to everybody whether to judge the quality of your work, which leads me to my next point. Logic said, and this actually changed the way that I ran my page, my Tank Sinatra page. He said that he was fearful to put out music, even up to the last album. And I think this is his fourth album, because every time he put an album out, he would go online and read the reviews. Now, intellectually, you know that people rarely write a review on the internet unless it's something negative, right?
Right.
So you sell, like I sold, let's say, I think it was like 10,000 books. I have 114 reviews on Amazon. That means there was a lot of people who read the book and either felt good about it and didn't need to, they felt satisfied with their good reaction to it, or just felt indifferent. Even though it's not 114 negative reviews, it's like 5. So out of 10,000 books, 5 are negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about those 5 a lot. I'm not going to lie. So
right.
Logic, obviously, Logic said what he realized was when he made this music and he put it out and people went online to talk about the fact that they didn't like it, he felt this immense relief, because he realized, oh, you don't like the music? Oh, good. I didn't make it for you. Wow. What? Yeah, like, I didn't make it for the people who don't like it. I made it for me and the people who do. Holy shit, dude. That was like, wow. Yeah, I didn't make this meme for you. You don't think it's funny? I didn't make it for you. I made it for the guy who's laughing off of his couch. That's who I made it for.
That's it, right? Is if we're doing everything and like, what do I have to do to be liked? Man, that's where I'm most miserable, is when I'm trying to be liked. But if I come back to like, what would really help me, or what's going to really help, I talked to a client today, what's going to really help him? There's a lot of certainty there. I feel really confident in that place. And then it gets really focused, but I find that that's the work that has the most resonance with others. That's where I get the good feedback from.
Sure. And the way that I know that I didn't make the song for you or the meme for you is because you didn't like it. Like that's the marker.
Just let it go. Yeah.
Just let it go. Obviously it wasn't for you. It was for somebody else, which is fine.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, with this whole thing, I'm sure, there's, and the more introspective you are, the more sensitive you are, the more you probably do want people to like you. And while you may come off as confident or unaffected, nothing gets by me. I'm a very observant person. It's just a matter of what I do with it. And I'm trying to get better at focusing on what goes right and not discounting, but just not harping on what goes wrong.
Right. Beautiful.
There's a lot to learn from the negatives too.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn. But I love your sense of play and a sense of service in there. It takes a lot of, you're demonstrating it takes a lot of guts to have a big heart in this world right now. And that's what I appreciate. I don't see a lot of puff up, screw you, I don't care. Like you acknowledge, hey, it stings. I think about the negative. I think about the jabs that come at me, but I'm not going to stop. And that's what I'm appreciating. That's what I'm taking away from me, and I want the listener to grasp too. So George Resch, call him Tank Sinatra online. This book is called Happy is the New Rich. You can check him out on Instagram at Tank Sinatra, as well as Tank's Good News. George, thanks for talking today, man.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me. Thanks for asking some good questions.
If these interviews are helping you, then please visit The New Man on iTunes and leave us a positive review so others can discover the show more easily. Thanks for listening.